I ranked one amazing goal from every single minute, from worst to best. From goals scored at the World Cup, to goals scored at the Jamaican schoolboys, to Costa Cup, I've scoured the internet to put together the greatest list possible. But among the best of the best, who takes the top spot? Welcome back to Icepack Sports, the internet's coldest football show. I'm your host Ian, and we're back ranking some more of the best goals in football history. We've got 90 minutes worth of goals to get through, so let's jump right in. Unsurprisingly, we're starting out with 2 goals from the first few minutes of the game. Even Messi, with his humble 821 career goals, couldn't manage to nab a goal in the first minute. So Neymar and Gundo's early bangers go as hard as Ray Hudson if Messi ever did bag in the first minute.
Come on, Leo.
And Ray Hudson's colorful metaphors about how Messi could nutmeg a mermaid or find space in a telephone booth could not be more accurate describing these next 3 goals. Abubakar and Baron glided past their defenders like they weren't even there, and Al Saudi shattered the goalkeeper's ankles and embarrassed the Saudi League long before it was the cool thing to do. Staying in the Saudi League, we've got a phenomenal acrobatic effort from Romarinho, followed up by one from Cesar Montes that flipped the script as a Mexican pulling up and wreaking havoc in Spain for once. Speaking of destruction, we've got 2 absolute missiles from Depay and Artur Melo of all people. These 2 goals are more impressive than anything either of them pulled off in their entire time at Barcelona. I don't think it's even up for debate that Artur's biggest contribution in a Barca shirt is helping them balance their books.
That's it. The one who cooked the books.
So good and tasty.
Taking it a step further, we've got another player known for a rather unremarkable stint at Barcelona, Lionel Messi. Messi, along with Giovanni and Oscar Rodriguez, ripped it in from equally far back, except they hit it from a dead ball. With the pace that the ball was traveling at, the goalkeeper saw about as much of the ball as Artur Melo during his time at Liverpool. That's not the case with the next 2 goals, however, with the goalkeepers having eyes on the ball for the entire time, yet being completely unable to stop it from floating into the back of the net. You'd think that Guzan of all people would be prepared for Shelvey to be efficient at finishing over the top of his head. Like American goalkeepers and male-patterned baldness, Quagliarella, Van Persie, and perfectly struck volleys are a match made in heaven. With the shooting technique on display, finding a bad goal between the 2 of them is about as easy as finding a shampoo bottle in the US team showers. Keeping on theme of things that are hard to come by, we've got a group of some of the most unique goals you'll ever see. Just when you thought you'd seen it all, someone comes up with a new and creative way to ruin their opposition's day. From a chipped back heel, a curved half volley, or a flying karate kick, these players left their defenders in complete shambles. Imagine being the Bizas and having to rewatch Bergkamp putting you in a spin cycle on repeat for almost 20 years. When you'd least expect it, these scores popped up from out of nowhere, traumatizing their defenders with these screamers like Joao Cancelo in my nightmares.
Here's Johnny.
Just like Cancelo's eyes, these next 3 players pulled the opposing defense wide open with close ball control so impressive it would leave even Ray Hudson speechless. In seemingly impossible scenarios, the players managed to wriggle through the entire opposition team and score, despite their teammates offering as much support as you'd find in the stands at the Etihad. These next 3 goals would have Pep falling to his knees on the touchline, with these runs putting all tacticos in the mud and disregarding every possession principle imaginable. They really said, forget your inverted fullbacks, forget your hybrid pressing, I don't need 500 passes to get to the net. Even Gareth Southgate's tactics would look revolutionary watching these plays, with the players picking up the ball at the halfway line and blitzing to the net before cheekily finishing. Cantona, Bale, and Wallace showcased some of the best driving I've seen since the PGA Tour.
Oh, hello, sweetheart. Oh! Ah! Ah!
But why run 60 yards with the ball when you can just shoot it instead? Seeing the keepers off their line, both of these players hit the ball like a truck, the same way that Age did to Charlie Adam. Charlie chipping Courtois from 60 yards is hard to believe, but still far more believable than the fact that he's 3 years younger than Thiago Silva. Just like Father Time, this next set of volleys were inevitable. As soon as they popped the ball up in full stride, you just knew the strike was destined for the back of the net. Whether using their chest, thigh, inside or outside foot, they did whatever it took to make sure that they were getting a shot off. Before the ball even left the striker's boot, its path was as predetermined as Juventus youngsters under Allegri.
What would you want to be in future?
I would like to be a terrorist.
Ironically, this next volley was scored by a man mistaken as a terrorist. But the only act of terror he's guilty of committing is destroying one of Allegri's most egregious deep blocks. With these volleys removing the setup entirely and just ripping it in first time, there's only one man capable of putting together a defense blasphemous enough to stop these from going in. And he's getting fired up just at the very thought of it.
Money pays, you ain't ready for the eighth, she ain't ready for the eighth. Mad as savage, me back and I'm back and it happening, ready to blow.
Each volley's getting more technically difficult, with the strikers coming in at harsher angles than you'd find in FIFA's referee parking lot. We really do need Mourinho to come in and teach these guys how to properly park, although nowadays he spends more time throwing his players under the bus than actually parking it. And like Mourinho's career since 2015, these players flipped on their heads in a set of outrageous acrobatic finishes, including one of the most MLS goals imaginable, ticking every box, from the goalkeeper blunder to incredible finish, and fans throwing up hand signals blocking the main camera. I've seen an overhead kick far less impressive than any of these win the Puskás Award, but I'm sure these players won't be losing any sleep knowing that they're getting the international recognition of being awarded with the Ice Pack Sports Goal of the Minute. To the players featured in the video, feel free to get in contact with me and I'll send you something for your incredible achievement. With the sheer number of bicycles I've been selecting while making this video, it's really starting to feel like I'm trying to prove I'm not a robot. Following it up, we've got two fluid moves that completely dismantled the opposition. The brilliant ball movement and finishing from Chelsea, yes you heard that right, Chelsea, and Monterrey had the defenders sweating like Holland trying to fill out a CAPTCHA. Seeing players who seem to exclusively score bangers like Emre Can line up for a strike definitely has the defender sweating as well. These are four of the most aesthetically pleasing goals you'll ever see, with the camera positioned perfectly to capture the ball movement as it swerves side to side like Jack Grealish after a title celebration. And like Man City's medical staff trying to check Grealish for head trauma, these next strikes gave the goalkeepers a near impossible task.
Dean Smith also says you're an encyclopedia of football. Where does that come from?
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
These absolute rockets took it a step further than the last few, or about 20 steps further if we're talking distance. With the goalkeepers not even off their lines, the power and precision needed to be as perfect as a certain Man City player's body, according to Pep.
Yeah, he has a perfect body already. So sexy.
And like Pep claiming Calvin Phillips of all people has a perfect body, these next three strikes took everyone by surprise. None of the three are known for being particularly prolific in front of net, Yet that didn't stop them from scoring 3 of the most picture-perfect volleys in football history. Just like the crossbars in those last strikes, these next 2 acrobatic finishes left the goalkeepers rattled. Conceding any overhead kick is guaranteed to have your teammates clowning you, but conceding one from outside the box will leave you looking like Ivanovic trying to speak English.
Please support humanappeal.org.uk.
And what better way to transition into 2 brilliant solo goals than by Hazard making a mockery, just like he did what felt like every time Chelsea played Liverpool. Both Ben Arfa and Skoko looked like they were just out for a leisurely stroll as they waltzed their way through the entire opposition team. The last player that single-handedly did that much damage to a team was Onana during United's Champions League campaign. Adding on to Manchester's suffering, we have 2 ridiculously ambitious volleys from Henry and Peter Crouch. Clearly they didn't want to pick sides, scoring absolute bangers against both United and City.
Oh boy, you want to call a truce? Why not?
On first impressions, Peter Crouch is probably the last person you'd ever expect to have that kind of tech, but I'd argue the score of this next goal is even less likely. The fact that Diego Simeone's son of all people is playing Joga Bonito footy looking like prime Dino must be some kind of cardinal sin. This man was destined to be a hard-hitting, no-nonsense centre back and nothing else. At least he has his other son who's actually ready to properly fill his boots. Being clinically insane is pretty much a prerequisite of filling Cholo's boots, so the strikers of these next 2 volleys definitely fit the bill. No one in their right mind would ever attempt to go for these volleys first time, yet these 2 were licking their lips at the opportunity, like Dino finding out the prize of the jailhouse tourney. Ronaldinho winning a 16-kilo pig as a prize in a Paraguayan prison is somehow less outlandish than scoring these absurd volleys. Americans really can't catch a break on this list, with Tim Howard joining Brad Guzan in the hyper-specific list of bald American goalkeepers conceding half-field volleys in the Prem. Watford's keeper Gomez may meet the hair follicle quota, but sadly for him, that's not quite enough to make the club. Both keepers failed the requirements, but that can't take away from their shared trauma of conceding bangers with goalkeeping efforts as ineffective as Sula's efforts at washing his hands. The same way his sleeves rob Sula of clean hands, these bangers rob the opposition of clean sheets, with each of these 3 goals taking a banger from earlier in the list and simply doing it better. Scholes' volley vs Aston Villa, Robben's volley vs United, and Henry's volley vs United. These goals evolved as dramatically as players a few months after joining Bayern. Now before we break into the top 10, quick reminder to subscribe, as each subscriber represents a fan in the Ice Pack Stadium, and I dream of filling the biggest stadium in the world. We currently reside in the Estadio Regional de Chinquihue in Chile, but as soon as we outgrow it, we can move on to something even more exciting, so let's push for that upgrade. In 10th place, we're rolling back the years to the 90s for Atkinson's full field run against Wimbledon. Atkinson was riding challenges left, right, and center in full stride before casually dinking the keeper. Wimbledon fans had their club forcefully ripped from them and moved to Milton Keynes, yet there's still an argument that conceding this was a bigger tragedy. In 9th place, we've got the opposite side of the spectrum, with a goal scored just last week by a player born 12 years after Atkinson's goal. Garnacho may have been able to recreate Rooney's bike, but he'll never be able to recreate Rooney's legendary Twitter game and timeless fashion sense. In 8th place, we've got this stunning half-field volley from Mario Ricardo, a player who certainly has an eye for goal. Quite literally, an eye for goal. Given he only has vision in one eye, it's surprising he didn't take the typical path of the visually impaired to become a referee.
Make us proud. Your eyes are blind, but your heart can see.
In 7th, we've got another insane half-field volley from Verkauteren, casually doing keep-ups in half field before ripping it 45 yards over the keeper. Somehow this man managed to pull off an all-timer goal while taking football as serious as Benoit Assoikoto. In 6th place we've got Pedro, who pulled off one of the most unique backheels ever. Pedro managed to perfectly dink the keeper in the biggest embarrassment involving Chelsea since they posted a woman's year in review, praying no one asked for the men's version. In 5th place, Koopmeiners took inspiration from Pedro and dinked the keeper with another cheeky backheel. He just managed to do it directly from a corner while running away from the net. Koopmeiners humiliated the goalkeeper with no regard for human life, but you really can't blame him.
He's not being rude. He's just being Dutch.
In 4th, we've got the greatest team play goal in history. Every single touch in this goal, including the finish, was executed to absolute perfection, with Wilshere finishing off the play with his best follow-through since two-footing his wife. In 3rd place, we've got Messi's iconic solo run against Getafe. A 19-year-old Messi managed to make it look like he was the one playing against a group of kids. This goal was so special that it managed to make a word, not even in any dictionary, more globally recognizable than the capital of Turkey.
I mean, it's alright, like...
I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
In 2nd place, we've got Messi's goal's identical twin, Maradona's goal of the century against England. Watching him soar through entire teams, the opponents must feel like they're playing an entirely different sport. Whatever he sees on the pitch is completely lost in translation for everyone else, just like whenever he had to deal with English journalists.
Can love help win the World Cup? And is this, are you naturally affectionate with everybody? Or is this something that you learnt as a player? Do you respond better? Maybe the translation is...
And finally, for the top spot, we have an acrobatic effort from Geertsen that looks like something pulled straight from Shaolin soccer. Scoring a bike directly off of a corner alone would have this up near the top of the list, so for him to rattle it off the crossbar just to assist himself for an equally impressive scissor kick, Geertsen deserves more than just the top spot, but he deserves casting in the live-action Blue Lock. And that wraps up our list. If you're wondering where some of the usual suspects are, I intentionally left them out to avoid doubling up after covering them while ranking every Puskás nominee. So if you want to see how I rate some of the more popular goals, check that one out. Anyways, let me know in the comments where you think I got it wrong, and as always, thanks for watching and stay icy.